What this gentleman has to say.
One of the biggest flaws that the boomer generation has is they have a real hard time believing a reality that exists outside their own lived experience. If it didn't happen to them, their family, their neighbor, their coworker, it's almost as if it doesn't exist in the real world. And I see this a lot in my comment section. If a boomer disagrees with me, they very rarely ever write, "Hey, Freddie, I disagree with you. I think this take is better. Look at this Forbes article. Look at this MIT survey." It's almost always, "You're wrong because when I graduated college, when I got married, when my husband lost his job, when we raised kids." It's almost like they can't prescribe a solution outside their lived experience. That's why when you see a Gen Z or millennial filming their parents talking about the housing prices or rent, and they say, "Well, how am I supposed to save? Rent is $1,700. They get this look on their face like they can't believe what you just said because they've never seen $1,700 in their real life. They've only seen $200, $500. Their mortgage was $600, $700. So they instantly write it off because it questions the bubble they've built. There's 70 million boomers inside a globe that they've spent 60, 70, 80 years building, and they're protecting it with their life. They don't want change. They don't want it challenged. They don't want to hear that the media or the government or the institutions aren't here for us and just for money. So us saying rent is this, used cars is this, it shatters this globe. They don't want to hear it.
I think that he raises some good points. I think that generational gaps can cause all sorts of confusion. And I think that that's on any level. I think that if you were to ask a millennial to make sense of Gen Z and their idea of anything really, but the work world, working climate, I'm pretty sure some Gen Zers would see that response and say, "Oh, this guy, this old lady is out of touch. It's not like that anymore. That's not the climate that we're in." But in defense of those who are older, sometimes all you know is what you know in terms of generational differences. I believe them when they say, back, in my day, I left home at 15. I got my first apartment when I was 15 and a half, and I've been working on my own ever since. I'm a self-taught plumber, this and that. I believe them. But as he said, today's climate is different. And when it comes to them, I think some of them have seen it. I don't know if you've ever met a boomer who was laid off from a position that they worked their whole life to attain. But if you've ever talked to one of them, at least the ones that I've talked to, they've expressed that the working field has changed. They're like, "Man, one time I had to get another job, or one time I relocated and got a different job in my field, and it wasn't like this. I don't know what's going on with people today. It's not like before XYZ." So I think it's hard to group any one group of people and say that this particular set of people are completely out of touch. I mean, I'm sure this guy was making a generalization about something that's very common in this day. But when you peel back the layers, I don't think it's quite that simple. These are just my thoughts, just my opinions. I think that there's some really smart, educated, and talented individuals who are older and who are able to read the times, able to read the room, and able to understand what's happening. Then there are some who may have lucked up, being born at the right time and in the right place, and simply can't wrap their head around a different reality. They can't wrap their head around 2026 as opposed to 1986. They don't think that 40 years could cause much of a difference. But even if we look at history, we can see that half a century, 50 years, can create a huge leap. Just think of TV shows in the 1950s compared to TV shows in the 2000s. MTV and all that, way different than what, the Twilight Zone, Leave It to Beaver. I mean, that may have been the 60s, but I think you understand the point that I'm making here. Time changes many things. And it's funny because it reminds me of the phrase, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Time is funny like that. A lot of things change. Things will never be the same in certain respects. But then in other areas, things are way different. Way different. So what do you think? Think the older generation is completely out of touch? You think they have no idea about what's going on, what's really happening out here in the world? Or do you think this is just a small pocket of individuals overall who are just maybe stuck in their own experience of being a young person and finding his or her way? Drop a comment, like and subscribe if you enjoyed this content and you would like to see more. Peace.